Hello, I am Chylli from channel Chylli, also known as Chai, and we are back for more depersonalization, continuing where we left off last time. Pardon me while I take a drink here. Alrighty, so Violet is clearly super suspicious right now, so we are going to investigate her a little bit. Welcome, Detective. Violet, did you forget what we said? Don't be in a hurry. Everything can be resolved calmly. Sit down, Detective. We've talked here many times. What's the reason this time? Did you have another hallucination? Detective, don't be impatient. Any problem, you can vent to me. Doctor, do you believe there is a perfect crime in the world? Violet smiled and took a packet of instant coffee from the table. Want a cup of coffee, Detective, like before. Violet, you threw the file and the recording on the table at once, making the chessboard pieces tremble and fall. But Violet, with her eyes lowered, just poured the coffee powder into the cup. Why can you still sit here so calmly, Violet? You already knew Howell, you already knew Tehran, but you hid it from the police. You used the excuse of psychotherapy to drug Howell, making him disappear for a long time. You are the psychologist Griffith talked about. Why? If you, Doctor, were listed as a suspect, the whole series of cases would become obvious. Suppose the so-called smiling dead cases from Sekhmet to Howell were all you're doing. Because you are capable. You have surgical skills that are no less than Rozov's. You know the whole series of dead, and you are good at listening. Or rather, inducing. But why? Violet took a sip of coffee and placed the cup on the table. So, when did the detectives start to suspect me? I suspected you from the start, but I wasn't sure because there was no concrete evidence. Everything you did was too perfect. The most I could do was suspect. I always had a gut feeling that things weren't as simple as I thought, until the files and the recording left by Rozov directly accused him. I'm glad to hear that, Detective. Care to tell me your deduction, or rather your suspicion? Where to begin? Let's start with the madman named Sekhmet, even before we met. Although he wasn't your patient, in the hospital's file room there was a medical record about him. And the last record about Sekhmet was that you had abandoned treatment for personal reasons and was discharged. What's irrational about that? No, it's very irrational. First, Sekhmet was not rich, he was a homeless man. His cognition would not inform him that I have a mental illness. Besides, based on my contact with him in those few hostile moments, I don't think Sekhmet realized he was sick. Even if the treatment was fully funded, the reason for leaving the hospital wouldn't be personal reasons. And you are the director of the hospital's psychiatry department. If you wanted to, it would be very easy to have contact with him in the psychiatry department. There's no clear cause and effect relationship in that. Yeah, so that's the first suspicion. The second coincidence is the surveillance camera in the police station's file room. How did it break right after you entered? The last image recorded by the camera was you, Doctor. After you left, the camera broke. How can it be such a big coincidence? The most recent files should be in a visible place for easy consultation. And you went in to get Sekhmet's file, but you stayed in the file room for a long time. It seemed you were looking for something. I think it was my file, wasn't it? Isn't that also a coincidence? Of course, and there's more. Doctor, are you smiling? No, continue. Maintaining a smile and not interrupting the others venting is my personal habit. That side road that leads from the city to my house, it should have been a rarely used country lane. Few people pass through there, the terrain is complex, the lighting is poor. The mouth sealed with nails, the torn smile, and the patient with skin disease who suddenly appeared in front of the car. First, the nails in the torn mouth were forcibly applied shortly before the impact. Otherwise, the pain I felt after using the pocket wash wouldn't have been so intense. Second, if the hypnosis about the police station's file room if the hypothesis about the police station's file room is correct, and this dead man was placed on the road on purpose, then the only suspect who could have taken the file is you. And more, the nails. There was a nail gun in the clinic, wasn't there? This is all still speculation, isn't it? No, detective, that I was the first to arrive at the scene to treat you. Criminals often like to return to the crime scene to admire their masterpiece. Just that this time, the role was a bit different. Of course, what made me most suspicious was the time in the hospital morgue. That time it was I who pulled you out of the hallucination. I remember you said, "Don't be afraid of me, don't stay away from me." I thought you were comforting me or calming me down. But thinking about it now, it was you comforting the little girl behind me. When you approached me, she clearly recoiled in fear. Only at the time I ignored it. I thought she was just scared. Now I'm even suspecting she ran to the morgue not out of fear of me, but to get away from you. Actually, both. After all, you shot the security guard and injured him. Is that a confession? Not yet. I can still keep saying it's all coincidences. As for spending the night at the clinic, that part I don't need to mention, do I? This is your territory. You opened the window, the criminal entered, following your instructions, and gave me a stab. But it wasn't fatal because you understand a little about surgical techniques. Some small errors, but overall, it's mostly right. Please continue. What puzzled me the most was the situation in the detention cell. Dormer had his throat cut and old Thor fled in a panic. After all this happened, right after Triss and I left. Is it that hard to imagine? Rozov realized the police found the evidence he left at the factory and thought his accomplice, Sorimer, might tell the police everything after waking up. So he chose to kill to silence the witness. And I, unluckily, came back to check on the cell and was stabbed by Rozov. Indeed, the story also makes sense. After all, in their detention cell, only you two were conscious. When in a situation with only two people in the cell, fleeing after committing a murder is practically drawing all the evidence to oneself. If some curious police officer returned to the cell, Rozov wouldn't have had time or a chance to leave the city. Therefore, there's another possibility. Rozov was persuaded by you to flee the city first, to change his name and hide. But you didn't keep your promise to help Rozov buy time, and instead killed Sormer with a scalpel pretending to be a victim. So when I caught up with old Thor, I saw his face covered in blood, going from fear to confusion to a moment of clarity. That's when he realized he had been deceived by you. What a pity the car accident didn't kill him instantly, and he left the evidence for you, Detective. You unlocked the safety of your pistol, the dark barrel pointed at Violet's forehead. So go turn yourself in at the police station, Doctor, in the name of our friendship. Come, sit down, Detective, like the first time I did your psychological evaluation. Want a cup of coffee? I don't think it's time for coffee. Your hand unconsciously fumbled for the back of the wooden chair. Your body leaned back with a strong urge to sit in the chair. But you quickly reacted, holding the gun handle with both hands. The barrel still pointed at Violet. Unconscious behaviors usually occur in moments of lack of reflection. I think. Detective, you felt it, didn't you? So I'll do you the favor of giving you a basic introduction to psychoanalysis. To psychoanalyze someone, the most important thing is to establish trust. If your target is a brick wall, no matter how good your silver tongue is, your analysis will be useless. And among the methods for establishing trust, authority is the fastest and most convenient. People tend to believe so-called experts, so people of a higher level, because it relieves the pressure of exploring the unknown. So that's what I did, Detective. I am the doctor and you're the patient. You need me, and I am the person who helps you solve your problems. Look around you. The place I left for you is a small wooden chair, and I sat on the sofa. Many details led to the construction of the image of authority, including the imperative tone, follow the doctor's orders, repeated over and over again. But you don't control me, Violet. Violet shook her head. No, Detective, you misunderstood. Psychoanalysis suggests induction, far from achieving control. But what's going on? We meet again, Detective. This time you won't escape. No, this is all a hallucination. Violet, I will no longer be tormented by hallucinations. The hallucination of Sekhmet appeared again before you. That really surprises me, Detective. Violet at some point was already in front of you. You, by instinct, raised the gun and the barrel ended up pressed against her forehead. But Violet, on the contrary, smiled, with a somewhat sickly beauty. Detective, it seems your condition has improved. What the hell are you up to? It seems I need to reveal more truths to you. For example, Detective, do you really think the pocket watch in your hand can help you travel through time? What do you mean? This involves some technical terms. Have you ever heard of a trauma trigger? Of course I've heard of it. Great, then I don't need to explain. Well, Detective, have you ever thought that, because of a trauma trigger, someone acquired deduction ability? You mean I had a trauma trigger? An excessive emotional shock can also cause PTSD, post-traumatic stress, and that, Detective, was the reason we met. Think about it, detective. Have you ever used the pocket watch before fully exploring every detail of the crime scene? No, you said it yourself. This should belong to the field of occultism. As a psychologist, of course I should stimulate the patient as little as possible. But since you have doubts, why don't you take it out to confirm? The pocket watch turns, the hands spin. Nothing happens. Shut up. Violet, shut up. You don't want to admit your illness. You're afraid of being abandoned. You're afraid of being worthless. You've woven a web of lies for yourself, detective. A unique ability brings you security, doesn't it? No, impossible. This is Sothoth's pocket watch. It can return to the past. Your subconscious deduction ability needs a self-deceiving medium to be triggered. A common pocket watch. I told you to shut up. Make that talkative bitch shut up. The finger trembled on the trigger, the tip repeatedly touching the metal. The cold sensation spread from the fingertip to the mind, but it couldn't dissipate the emotions accumulated in the brain. Okay, I can't play with time, so what? Chris believes in me and I believe in him. Even if I've lost the watch, even if I can't go back to the past to unravel mysteries. Now I'm still here, Doctor. I'm here to expose your crimes. You're the author of a series of cases. You have to face the jury's judgment. Save your silver tongue for the jury and the judge. Now you're just a herring thrashing in the net. I'm very happy for you, detective. You finally managed to control your emotions. Instead of listening to me talk about psychology for dozens of hours, it's much more fruitful to go through it once. What? Is the doctor scared? Do you need me to help you get to the police station? Violet didn't answer, picked up the files on the table and flipped through them page by page. Incitement to illegal possession of a weapon, abuse of power, covering up crimes, multiple times. Detective, how many years do you think these crimes can get? That depends on how the judge decides. I don't know much about the law, but for these crimes, maybe he'll never get out. Great. Violet dropped the files on the table, stood up, and looked at you. I believe a detective as averse to evil as you wouldn't let a criminal who committed incitement to illegal possession of a weapon, abuse of power, and covering up crimes multiple times to go unpunished either, right? Chris. Exactly. Our delegate knows the law and breaks it, providing a weapon to an officer without a license, allowing an employee with a diagnosed mental illness to continue working at the police station, using his position to cover up for an officer who shot and killed a suspect without authorization during a mission, even covering for a suspect in a car accident, attempted murder, and consummated murder, so that he is not punished. And he still let the suspect run loose with a gun pointed at the forehead of a law-abiding doctor. Shut your mouth, Violet. You're negotiating with me. Negotiating? What an interesting word. We know each other very well. If I go to the stand, who do you think will be next? Chris won't be able to escape either. He will have to serve time in prison until he rots. But fortunately, your speech just now convinced me, detective. As your doctor, I can't bear to see a patient sad, so I've decided to fulfill your wish and turn myself in. This is a perfect ending. Congratulations, detective. The flame shot from the barrel of the gun. The sound of the firing pin echoed instantly. The bullet pierced Violet's head in the blink of an eye. A jet of blood mixed with white brain matter shot out from her forehead. Her bangs, lifted by the airflow, fell slowly, covering the hideous hole that pierced her skull. The bright red blood under Violet gradually solidified into a dark red. Worms like black threads rose from the blood, moving like caterpillars toward Violet's head, until the last black worm entered the hole in Violet's head. The blood under her completely disappeared, and the hole covered by her bangs also gradually restored itself. Violet's eyes rolled under her eyelids twice and then gradually opened. Violet stood up, brushing off her clothes, which were not stained with blood, just a little dust. Violet bent down and took from your pocket that indigo watch, weighing it symbolically in her hand. And as if in response to Violet's action, the surface of the watch emitted a faint blue glow. Violet, with one hand, caressed your hair, lightly lifting your chin as if to see your face more clearly. But in the next instant, black tentacles spread from Violet's palm until they covered your entire head. Vital signs are still intact, but the mental aspect is not ideal. After the personality dissociation, the main personality suffered a great shock. It's almost in pieces. Even if he is resurrected, he will be a vegetable. That person named Anan has a powerful mental strength. Is this the power of the Star Key? The tentacles on Violet's hand gradually retracted until the skin returned to normal. I swear Violet has to be Dagon. Leaving like this seems a bit unfair to you, Detective. Violet delicately took a hair ornament from one side and placed it on your forehead. The dark purple hair ornament quickly turned into pus, seeping into your mouth and nose. The subtle sound of mucus, gliding, spread through your body as if stitching an opening. That's good. Hello, this is Triss. Doctor, any problem? Delegate Triss, the detective is here with me. Currently, he is a bit unconscious after receiving emergency psychological treatment and needs someone to take care of him. Can you come pick him up? The other end of the line was silent for a moment and then answered, Okay, I'm on my way. Don't be in a hurry, I have a few more things. Go ahead. I need to take a long trip, so I'm officially resigning from my services and cooperation with the police regarding psychotherapy. Okay, I'll take care of the paperwork for you. Violet looked at you, lying on the floor. At this moment, your breathing was calm, looking as if you were just sleeping. The detective may lose a large part of his past memories, including of me and you, but he will no longer have hallucinations or psychological trauma. I hope that... Whoa, excuse me. I hope that during the detective's recovery process and afterwards you don't mention me. Why? Is related to the treatment. Thank you. A day later. She came after all. Nyarlathotep. Yes, it's been a while since I came to take a look, our dear lady doctor. Good work. Nyarlathotep waved her hand, and the indigo pocket watch appeared out of thin air in her hand. Violet instinctively touched her pocket, which was now empty. Very good, Violet. The owner of the watch denied its existence, therefore the power of Yog-Sothoth can be used by others. Is this the reward you promised, Will? Quite generous. So the piece called a pawn has fulfilled its value, and now you've come to retrieve this piece. Nyarlathotep smiled with a slight squeeze on the pocket watch in her hand. The broken blue glow dissipated, entering Nyarlathotep's palm. Of course, as we agreed at the beginning. Nyarlathotep raised her hand slightly, and black tentacles emerged from the shadow, gripping Violet's throat. The black shadow instantly swallowed her. Well, a scalpel fell to the floor, making a crisp sound. On the tentacle that previously gripped Violet's throat, there were now a few scratches. Violet protected her neck, panting heavily. The feeling of suffocation and despair that penetrated to the bone marrow almost left her breathless. What was it, Nyarlathotep? What did I read? Aversion, anger, such common emotions. And also thought, remorse, resistance, and even the desire to kill me. Violet, do you know what you're thinking? An ant wanting to topple an entire kingdom, a twig wanting to fell a towering tree. You are too greedy, Violet. As your projection, gaining thought, didn't make you scared. Okay, so Violet is a projection of Nyarlathotep. How interesting, but the so-called human provocation has no effect on me. But I suddenly changed my mind. You want to kill me, then I'll give you that chance. I want you to continue your thought from just now. I want you to try to kill me, a me like you. How about it? That would certainly be very interesting. What do you think? You have the right to refuse. Very good joke. So I await your performance, Miss Violet. Seeming to notice the chessboard on the table, Nyarlathotep looked at it with interest and then picked up the pieces one by one and placed them on the board. Until the last piece was placed on the board, but on the black side, one black square was empty. It seems that on this board there's still one piece missing. Violet stood up. In the few moments Nyarlathotep was in the clinic, cold sweat soaked her underwear. The feeling of suffocation in her neck had not yet disappeared, and the taste of rust in her mouth still spread under her tongue. A small black tentacle emerged from Violet's sleeve, gently picking up the sharp scalpel from the floor and placing it in her coat pocket. An insignificant resistance. Okay, at least I can still stand here. Violet wiped the trickle of blood and cold sweat from her forehead and looked at the bookshelf on the second floor. At least for now, I need to go retrieve the last worm. It might be useful later. Oh, interesting. I'm playing as Violet now. Alright, that is honestly quite interesting. I have received many patients and guests here. The uninteresting people were cured and left. The interesting ones I kept like pieces on a board. Without realizing it, I also became like Nyarlathotep. Violet opened the drawer and took out a file. It is a diagnostic report, but the name field is not filled in. The patient's skin shows mechanical damage to the frontal lobe, excessive cell accumulation and inflammation on the surface, enlarged and inflamed hippocampus. Normally, the scan result means the damage to the frontal lobe is not recent, and the consequences of a damaged frontal lobe are often associated with PTSD, with the patient experiencing hallucinations, bipolar disorder, or loss of emotional control. The detective's hallucinations are not caused by the pocket watch. He is just a piece that is gradually falling into the abyss. Violet picked up a pen and wrote in the names field, Chylli. Since I can remember and learn to think, I have been looking for an identity for myself. I saw many people met many identities and finally chose doctor. Nira Leathertip told me she would have an agreement with someone and I would have to use this identity to complete that agreement. Fortunately, human knowledge seems superficial and easy to understand for me. Playing a doctor is not difficult. Violet took out a file from a very secret compartment. The place where the name should be filled in was empty. Her fingers passed lightly over the file and a thread of fine blue sand spread from Violet's fingertips. I should remember his original name, and the file should have the name, but some powers can really erase everything, as if it never existed. Is this what she meant by the migratory bird that flies over the mountain does not care about the ant in trouble? The rulers who are above man, who see ordinary people with their joys and sorrows as ants, as chess pieces. Violet looked at the white file in her hand and tore it into pieces. And am I not the same? I've already forgotten where this is. It seems to be some distant memories belonging to Nyarlathotep herself that got stuck in my mind. But I can't remember. Each piece was placed on the board, but one was missing, the Black Queen. You skillfully switched the position of some books and pushed one of them forcefully inward. The heavy bookshelf suddenly fitted into the floor, revealing this stone door behind it. Dark, fetid, bloody. This is the style of the basement. But you've gotten used to it. This is your testing ground for your medical achievements and also your octagonal cage for controlling the minds of others. A body, the head severed in a disorderly manner. A bit of black fetid mud was left next to the body. A man named Otto. He made an axe from the parts in the basement and attacked me once when I came down to check. He tore one of my coats. Aw man, there's Griffith. A body, the head clearly severed, leaving only the cervical vertebra exposed. From the clothes, it should be Griffith. Griffith revealed too much information to the detective. To prevent him from remembering more, I had to use some radical methods to make him shut up. As for Howell, his frontal lobe was devoured by worms, but his mental state was very poor, so I had to give up on him. Piles of bodies, the blood under the body bags has already dried, exuding a smell of rot. Nothing noteworthy, just some disposable materials that didn't survive. Upon seeing your arrival, the girl retreated, trembling toward the wall. The black tentacles from the sleeve wrapped around her neck. You felt her emotions. Fear. Despair. Such sweet emotions. No, please. Black threads descended upon the floor, the girl's head solemnly torn off. Violet, emotionless, controlled the tentacles in her sleeves, rummaging through the brain matter and cerebrospinal fluid. That blue worm, curled up, rested silently on the tip of a tentacle, seeming to even stretch lazily. The smell of blood in the basement seemed to have intensified, but that no longer mattered. Maybe the police would eventually find the place, but who knows when. Tying up her long hair and taking off the long dress, Violet left the clinic. The weather after the rain was not bad, a mix of a light perfume with the scent of the earth. The mark that Nyarlathotep had placed on her seemed to have weakened greatly. It is unknown if she did it on purpose, but it seemed to have given Violet another chance to choose her identity. And her projection, or as Violet. As her projection, or as Violet. But Violet knew she was still a chess piece under her gaze. The only difference was that this pawn had reached the last row. Using the blood and flesh of others as the price, she had earned a chance for promotion. Alright, let's try that again, but let's try choosing something else now. The flame shot from the barrel of the gun. The sound of the firing pin echoed instantly. The bullet pierced Violet's head in the blink of an eye. A jet of blood mixed with white brain matter shot out from her forehead. Her bangs, lifted by the airflow, fell slowly, covering the hideous hole that pierced her skull. No, what have I done? No, this isn't real. I must still be in a hallucination. The pistol fell to the floor. You felt the sound of your heart almost suppress your reason. A gnawing sound came from your forehead. Your joints felt as if they were being eaten by worms full of holes. Heart palpitations, headache, fear, remorse, and heart-wrenching confusion flooded your mind in an instant. Your nails almost pierced your scalp, but the pain and palpitations became even clearer. The intense headache and racing heart once again took over your mind, covering everything before you. The light was swallowed, and the sound became silence. The bright red blood under Violet gradually solidified into a dark red. Worms like black threads rose from the blood, moving like caterpillars toward Violet's head, until the last black worm entered the hole in Violet's head. The blood under her completely disappeared, and the hole covered by her bangs also gradually restored itself. Violet's eyes rolled under her eyelids twice and then gradually opened. Violet stood up, brushing off her clothes, which were not stained with blood, just a little dust. Violet bent down and took from your pocket the indigo watch, weighing it symbolically in her hand. As if in response to Violet's action, the surface of the watch emitted a faint blue glow. Violet, with one hand, caressed your hair, lightly lifted your chin as if to see your face more clearly. But in the next instant, black tentacles spread from Violet's palm until they covered your entire head. Vital signs are still intact, but the mental aspect is not ideal. After the personality dissociation, the main personality suffered a great shock. It is almost in pieces. Even if he is resurrected, he will still be a vegetable. The person named Nan has a powerful mental strength. Is this the power of the Star Key? Okay, this seems mostly the same here. I wonder if I can use the pocket watch before talking to her. And there's still that cave on the beach I never got to interact with. And there's also the third worm we never got. There has to be a spot where I am able to use it. Although I might be too far to be able to do it now. Yeah, I think we're going to have to reload back here again. No, it would be even before the car chase, so it would have to be like here. Or perhaps even further, honestly. Yeah, I think I have to go even further before this one here. Yeah, I think we need to go all the way back to the coastline here. And then maybe we can use the watch by the footsteps down on the coast down here. Where would I even get an item like that? I don't really know. I feel like I was pretty... Oops, I did not mean to go down there again. Oh, can we not go back to the lighthouse again? Come on, where can I use this thing at? Alright, I think I have an idea here. I can't remember if I already tried doing this or not. Really? I can't do anything here? Honestly, I might have to look this one up because I'm not really sure. Because, yeah, we needed the ladder to get up there. Alright, give me a moment here. We have to go even further before that, so when we entered the abandoned factory here... See, we need some kind of ladder to get up there. The issue is, this is a fan translation, so I don't even know if there's any guides online for how to do this. Oh my lord, are you serious? Hang on. If this is not a joke, I am going to be so upset. Yeah, it really is the case. I cannot believe they did that. You give it a kick, but the sensation and the impact were exactly like kicking a stone. But no matter how you look at it, it seems a bit strange. Maybe asking someone who understands the subject is a good idea. Now we can go back to the museum and talk to the curator. Man, I cannot believe this. Director, I have a question to ask you. You described Muhammad, the pile of stones you saw on the beach. The feel to the touch and the lack of harmony in its appearance. Oh, that, I know a little about it. It's a very old technique, not even a spell. Related to occultism. It has some similarities. Did the detective find this technique? Yes, and I wanted to know how to solve it. That's simple, but it still has a cost. I asked for 2,000. What do you say, detective? Why so expensive? Businessman, you know how it is. We always have to look at the money side. A reasonable choice. You spread this powder over the pile of stones, and after a while it should disappear. Is that it? Of course, as the saying goes, for laymen in occultism, you should give the simplest method of execution. To prevent them from not understanding and coming back asking for their money back. Alrighty, now we have to go spread this weird powder on the stones. I still cannot believe you had to interact with the rocks 4 separate times for that to happen. As the powder was spread over the pile of stones, the dissonant stones gradually disappeared, and then a dark opening appeared before you. Alrighty, well, that is where I'm going to have to leave it off for today's video. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time when we try to get another ending then. Until then, bye!